We now begin with the second chapter, which we will take in history, and the name of the lesson is The Sultans of Delhi. Now, this we in the first chapter know that in 7th we'll be dealing with the medieval Indian history. That means the part in which the early medieval and late medieval periods will be discussed. Now, this second chapter, which is in fact in the book the third chapter, deals with the early medieval period, where the number of sultans who ruled India are discussed in this chapter, and how one dynasty, being weaker rulers, gave way to the others, and the sequence will be followed. The period from AD 1206 to AD 1526 is described as the period of the Delhi Sultanate. It was called the Sultanate period because the rulers of this period assumed the title of sultans. In this period, there were 5 dynasties which ruled over northern India. They were the following. Now, first is the Turkish rulers, under which we have Qutbuddin Aibak, Iltutmish, Razia and Balban. Then we had the Khaljis, the Khalji dynasty, followed by the Tughlaq dynasty, then the Sayyid dynasty, and in the end, Lodhi dynasty. Now, basically, they are telling you that from 1206 to 1526, this period is called the Sultanate period, where the sultans basically came, ruled, and during this period there were 5 dynasties. The names are here. Then they talk of the sources. Inscriptions, coins and architecture provide a lot of information about the Delhi Sultanate. Most valuable information is provided by histories or tarikh or twarikh, written in Persian language, the language of administration. The authors of twarikh were learned men, administrators and courtiers, who both recounted events and advised rulers on governance, but these had limitations because the authors of twarikh lived in Delhi and other cities. Number 2, they praised sultans in the hope of rich awards. Number 3, they advised rulers on the need to preserve an ideal social order based on birth and gender. So basically here they are trying to explain it to you that the sources of our knowledge about the Sultanate period is based on the writings of the various works which were done in Persian language. The language in which the things were written were the Persian language, and the authors were more or less living there, were learned people, they were administrators. That means they were holding nice posts in the kingdom also, and they were very close to the king, and they kept the events record and advised also the rulers at that time to govern properly. But then there were certain limitations. Now, supposing these learned people were working under the kings, then they will be all praises for the king only. So in their writing also, even if they knew certain bad qualities about the king, they did not have the guts to mention it. Why? Because they wanted awards. Rich awards were given if they wrote nice words about the kings. So this was a drawback. Then they were the ones who advised rulers on the need to preserve an ideal social order, how to keep the country and the people happy, what are the rules. So they wrote in their books all the idealism. The king should be loving, he should look after his kingdom in a fatherly manner, and all these things were advised and written in the book under the heading Tarikh or Twarikh, as it is said. Clear? Now quickly I'll show you a small little chart which I have prepared, the Delhi Sultanate, and in this there are 5 dynasties, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now in these 5 dynasties, the first one was the slave dynasty, which we'll take just now. Under it is Qutbuddin Aibak, who was the first slave ruler, followed by Shamsuddin Balban, Iltutmish, then followed by Razia, and later on last ruler Ghiyasuddin Balban, and the dates are also written for each. You can see here 1240 and here it is 1266. there's a gap between this period. Now this was a period when after Razia there was chaos. There was no particular ruler who took over the throne till finally Balban came in 1266 and occupied it. Now after him were the Khaljis who came. In that the two main Khalji rulers are mentioned. Then the Tughlaq dynasty. We'll do all of it in detail, but here is the names of them: Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq, Muhammad bin Tughlaq, and Firoz Shah Tughlaq. Then it was the Sayyid dynasty which came after them. So it is the ruler who was prominently ruling the Sayyid dynasty was Khizr Khan, and after him, since the rulers were weak, the Lodhis conquered it. So the first among the Lodhis who came and established Lodhi dynasty were the Bahlul Lodhi, followed by Sikandar Lodhi, and the last was Ibrahim Lodhi. We now begin with the slave dynasty. The first ruler of the slave dynasty was Qutbuddin Aibak. So I'll begin reading. The first sultan of the slave dynasty was Qutbuddin Aibak. He was one of the generals of Muhammad Ghori. After Ghori's death, Qutbuddin began to rule as an independent ruler. Qutbuddin was a kind-hearted man. He was called as Lakh Baksh, or the donor of lakh. He built the Quwwatul Islam Mosque in Delhi. He started the construction of Qutub Minar. It was later completed by his son-in-law Iltutmish. So now the main points which you need to remember are just these. That means he was the first ruler of the slave dynasty. Then he was one of the generals of Muhammad Ghori. Then the kind-hearted king he was. Qutbuddin Aibak was also known as Lakh Baksh. That means one who can give away the lakhs. He was a donor. He could easily contribute money in lakhs to the poor people. Now the two main constructions done by him during this period were the Quwwatul Islam Mosque, which is still in Delhi, and the next is Qutub Minar, which you all must have seen in Delhi. It was started by him, but then he died, and it was later on taken up by his son-in-law Iltutmish. We now come on to the second ruler, Iltutmish. Qutbuddin was succeeded by Iltutmish. Iltutmish is considered as a consolidator of the slave dynasty. He faced many problems but dealt with them with valor and intelligence. Iltutmish fought against the Turkish nobles and Rajput rulers in the north. He defeated the rulers of Ujjain, Ranthambore, and consolidated his position in the northwest. He annexed Bihar and Bengal to his empire. Iltutmish also defeated Muhammad Ghori's general Qabacha. He refused shelter to the victims of Chengiz Khan and saved his empire from Mongol attack. He completed the construction of Qutub Minar started by Qutbuddin Aibak. He had many sons, but he did not consider them capable and decided to crown his daughter Razia as the Sultan. After his death, the nobles crowned his son Ruknuddin Firoz Shah, but he failed to manage the affairs of the kingdom. He was succeeded by Razia. So basically the points which we need to remember about Iltutmish is his reign from which year to which year. Then he was the one who consolidated the slave dynasty. He was the consolidator. Consolidator means Aibak, he conquered various parts, but it was he looked after and grabbed those parts, that those parts were not taken away by any ruler after the death of Qutbuddin Aibak. So he was able to maintain those parts which were conquered. That is why he is known as the consolidator. Then he faced many problems and he dealt with great valor and intelligence. Whatever problems he faced in the kingdom, he faced them with dignity and valor and was very intelligent. Now the Turkish rulers were disturbing, the Rajputs were disturbing at that time. So these were the problems. So he went and conquered them, and in this long run he conquered Ujjain and Ranthambore as well. Then Bihar and Bengal were also annexed by him. Then he defeated Qabacha. Now who is Qabacha? Qabacha was Muhammad Ghori's general. So Muhammad Ghori, we know that he was an invader. He invaded India many times. So after he went away invading India, Muhammad Ghori went back. So he appointed his general and this general's name was Kabacha. He was supposed to look after the territories which Gauri had occupied in India. So once Gauri had gone, Kabacha was looking after these territories. So it was Iltutmish who defeated Kabacha and took away those territories from Kabacha. Then the last thing was, he refused to give shelter to the victims of Genghis Khan. Now, who was Genghis Khan? He was a Mongol. Now, India at that time were facing continuous invasions and attacks from these Central Asian tribes called Mongols. Now, these Mongols, they used to visit India and invade India and bother the people of India. So, and they were very powerful. So when Iltutmish, when he came to power, he did not give the shelter to the people who were victims of Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan was a Mongol. So now the people whom Genghis Khan was bothering, he did not shelter them. Iltutmish said, no, I am not going to protect you, you go away. So the victims went away, and this saved the Mongol invasions. Genghis Khan was happy that nobody is attacking, nobody is favoring them, the victims. So in this way, he was able to keep away the Mongol invasion from India while he was ruling. Now the construction work which he did, he completed Qutub Minar, which was started by Qutbuddin Aibak. Now the next heading we'll do is Razia Sultan. After Iltutmish, it was Razia, daughter of Iltutmish. Let's see, she was the daughter of Iltutmish and the only woman Sultan of Delhi. Her reign was full of problems, and as she faced many rebellions from the nobles of her dynasty. She wore a male attire and rode an elephant. She succeeded in establishing law and order in her empire. The nobles conspired against her and killed her in a battle. Razia lies buried in a grave in Turkmen Gate as a great woman warrior of her times. So for Razia, we just need to know these three jotters. So her reign was full of problems, and there were very many rebellions from the nobles. Now the nobles were the court people. They were all men, and they did not like that they were going to be governed by a female. So they were constantly creating problem for Razia. So she had to face those problems and keep a check on them. Then nobles also conspired her. All we need to know is that they hatched a conspiracy against her and killed her in a battle. And her grave is in Turkmen Gate. Now these are the only 2-3 points which we need to know. Next is Ghiyasuddin Balban. Balban was the last important slave king. He was also a very powerful ruler. He reorganized his army and fought against the local rulers. He defeated many of them. He defended his empire from the invasions of the Mongols. During his reign, he made the Sultan's position supreme. He introduced the Persian custom of sajda, where the nobles had to kneel and touch the ground and salute the sultans. This practice was not liked by the Orthodox Muslims. Balban died of illness in 1287 and was succeeded by his grandson Kaikubad, and the year is given, a pleasure-seeking monarch. He soon lost his throne and eventually died of paralysis. The throne of Delhi passed into the hands of Khaljis. Now we'll do Balban. He was the last slave ruler. He reorganized his army, fought against the local rulers and defeated them. All the local rulers who were uprising, he shut them and controlled them. Then he defended the empire from the Mongol invasions. The Mongols, who were a threat, they were Central Asian tribes. They were constantly attacking India. He kept a check on them. Then he introduced the Persian custom. Now there was a very important Persian custom called sajda, where you bend and do a salam posture. That is called a sajda. And pabos is where you kneel down and bend as you do in a namaz. The Muslim students will be knowing better, touching the ground. Now this made the Orthodox Muslims feel very bad. Why? Because they only bowed down in front of Allah. And the king, he said, no, you have to make me also a supreme. So he had introduced the custom of sajda and pabos Now it was not liked by these Orthodox Muslims, and they did not want to do this sajda and pebos to the king. Then he died due to illness in 1287. After that, he had weak rulers who followed. His grandson Kaikubad was a weak ruler. He was a pleasure-seeking sultan. That means he spent his life in pleasure and enjoyment, and he did not look after the kingdom well. So the empire became weak. He died of paralysis, and the throne of Delhi later on passed to the Khilji rulers. We stop here for today.